Hello, Adam, isn't it? Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
Do you feel ready to begin?
Yes, I do.
Okay, now, before we actually get to the counselling part of the session, there's just a few things we need to agree. It's to ensure this is a safe and helpful space for you.
I think I ought to tell you before we start that I'm a counsellor too. I have been for the last 10 years, so I fully understand the need for contracting.
It's something you've done yourself many times then?
I certainly have.
Well, how would it be if we swap things round? Maybe you can tell me what boundaries you need in place so we can work together. Hopefully we'll be able to agree them together.
Sounds an interesting idea. It sounds good. Well, first off, of course, is confidentiality. I need to feel as though I can speak honestly and openly without the risk of other people finding out.
I certainly agree.
There have to be limits, of course. I'd expect you to get support if what I was talking about could cause severe harm to me or someone else. I'm hoping that you're a member of BACP or another professional body. Is that the case?
Yeah, it is. I'm an accredited member of BACP and work within their ethical framework for safe practice.
Supervision?
Yeah, in accordance with BACP requirements. It's an important part of my practice, ensuring I'm working in your best interests, getting a more experienced counsellor's overview of my work.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And the sessions are 50 minutes long?
Yeah, they are. And they'll be on the same day every week at the same time, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know how many times I'll come. Is it okay if we discuss that as we go along?
That's absolutely fine. I usually like to review every 6 weeks, but that's not set in stone, so we can review whenever you want to.
Okay. Well, I think that's it.
I think so too.
Well, that was the easy bit.
The easy bit.
Well, it feels strange sitting here. It's been many years since I sat in front of a counsellor. I'm used to being in your chair.
So you've had counselling before, a long time ago?
Yes, it was a requirement of the training course I did. Actually, I got a lot out of it, learning about patterns of behaviour and so on. Really just learning about who I am, my feelings, the sort of thing.
Yeah, I do, but even so, it must feel rather strange now. But how exactly does it feel, Adam, sitting here with me?
Well, I feel embarrassed, to be honest. Being in such a mess and being a counsellor, what would my clients think? I feel like I'm a fraud, I suppose, a failure.
Lots of negative thoughts and feelings.
I know we're not meant to judge, but how do you feel about me being here? What are you thinking?
What am I thinking in relation to you being here?
Yeah, as one counsellor to another.
Well, I don't want to sound harsh, Adam, but in this space there aren't two counsellors. You're here as a client today. This is your space, your time. I'm here to support you. You don't have to be a counsellor here.
I know. It's just so difficult.
I really do understand, All I can do is reassure you that I'm not judging you. I'm really not.
Thank you.
Do you feel able to talk about what has brought you here today?
Well, it's not me, it's my son. He's been arrested by the police, and I just can't believe he'd do such a thing.
Your son has been arrested?
They came to my door and they were so rude. Paul wasn't in, and they wanted to know where he was, but they wouldn't tell me what it was about. I was stunned. I just couldn't work out what was going on, what to think.
Your thoughts must have been all over the place. Such a shock and not knowing what was going on.
Well, it was awful. I just couldn't take it in. Also, I worked from home and I had clients coming later that day.
What a nightmare.
Well, I had to cancel all my clients. I mean, I've never done that before. Not at such short notice, never. But I was in such a state.
So many unanswered questions.
I found out later that they'd found Paul at his friend's house and arrested him. They took him to the police station. He stayed there all night. The next day he went to court and he's still remanded in custody, and I'm still in a complete and utter mess.
Your son has been charged and taken to court and has still not been released.
Yeah, and I still haven't seen my clients. I mean, what a great counsellor I am. How unethical is that? I'm useless.
You say it's unethical, but surely it would be more unethical to see your clients whilst in the middle of what's really an awful situation.
I suppose you're right. I don't know. I just feel terrible, such a failure. And I obviously haven't made a very good job of raising my children either. Have I? My son is a criminal.
Failure as a counsellor, failure as a father. Very harsh judgments on yourself.
Harsh, but true.
You look so unhappy, so hurt.
I think I need to pull myself together. Man up, as my father would have said. He's going to be in prison a long time too. I just don't know how he could do such a stupid thing. Bloody fool, bloody stupid little fool.
And there's anger too.
Bloody right there is. I thought I'd raised him well. Taught him right from wrong. He almost killed someone and then he ran away. He hid at a friend's house until the police came. This is not the Paul I know.
It seems as though he's become a stranger to you. A boy you've raised with decent values, who's behaved in a way that's contrary to everything you know him to be.
Yes, yes. I mean, it wasn't intentional. That's something anyway. He got into a fight in one of the pubs in town. He'd had a few drinks and started arguing about a girl.
A bunch of youngsters having too much to drink. It sounds as if things got completely out of hand.
And then, yeah, the fight spilt out into the street and Paul hit this lad and he fell and banged his head. He's been in a coma ever since. He might not pull through.
A silly mistake with a terrible consequence.
No, it wasn't a silly mistake. He shouldn't have been behaving like that, like some kind of thug. I tried my best, you know. But it just wasn't good enough. Never is.
We've talked a lot today, Adam, about the situation with Paul, and we've explored your feelings of hurt and anger and how you're blaming yourself. You said many times that you feel like a failure, and you also said that your best wasn't good enough. You also said, almost as an afterthought, that it never is. That really stayed with me, and I wondered what you meant by it. It never is.
Well, that's easy enough to answer. I've looked at these things before when I was in counselling, when I was training. I grew up in a family where everybody was just perfect at everything they did. My father was a rugby player and a sports teacher, head of his department. He played rugby for England, in fact. And my brother followed in his footsteps. Strong, fit. Any team he played in, he was always made the captain. My mother is a professor of economics, of all things, and my sister is an archaeologist, and at the moment she's in Egypt on a dig. And then there's me.
Such high achievers in your family. And then you said a and then there was me.
Well, here I am. Stupid, weak and boring.
Stupid, weak and boring.
They were embarrassed by me. No, they really were. My father tried to get me into sports, but I hated it. Hurt too much. He used to shout at me to man up, stop being a baby. I tried, but I just felt I was utterly pathetic.
You so wanted him to approve of you?
But he never did. I wasn't very bright either. My mother used to sit and do my homework with me. Sounds really supportive, doesn't it?
I don't think it felt supportive, though.
I can still hear her voice in my head over and over again. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
How did that feel in that situation with your mother?
Same I felt with my father, sort of panicked, scrabbling around in my mind for the answers, never finding them, of course. I hated letting them down. I just wanted them to look at me the same way as they looked at my brother and sister.
You tried so hard to meet their expectations.
And failed miserably.
Earlier, you said you failed as a counsellor, failed as a father. It's easy to see the roots of these feelings back in a little boy who felt a failure in the eyes of his parents. That must have hurt so much.
Well, it just became a part of me, I suppose. Just an empty, hollow feeling.
Lack of acceptance, feeling like a failure.
It meant so much to me when I became a counsellor. And I built up a really good practice, thriving, and I think I can say I was respected in the field by my colleagues. Did a bit of teaching too from time to time.
So in your role as counsellor, you feel good enough?
Well, used to feel. Not now though, I'm back to being a failure. I mean, how many counsellors do you know who are in a mess like this one?
You seem to think that counsellors are exempt from life and its problems, as if they have their whole lives sorted out, have themselves sorted out.
Maybe that's part of why I wanted to be a counsellor, so I wouldn't feel such a useless mess anymore. Yes, I do believe that counsellors should be strong and competent.
How you wanted to feel in your younger days?
Yes, I suppose so. I don't know, but it's the truth. I mean, look at you, for example. Your life isn't a mess like mine.
Adam, what would you say? What would you think if I told you that I see a counsellor?
What? I don't know. Do you? Well, what's wrong with you? Sorry, it's just that's a bit of a surprise.
Well, like I said earlier, this isn't about me, but I think this could be important for us to talk about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with me, by the way, but I do have things I need help with sometimes. We're all different, and this might not be the same for you. But I believe it's a strength to get help when you need it, not a weakness.
Well, that's given me something to think about anyway. You know, I did try, though, to be the together person I've always wanted to be. But in a way, it's almost a relief to know that I don't feel as if I have to pretend.
Not being perfect doesn't mean being a failure.
It's going to take some time for me to believe that, though, I think.
Adam, we're coming up to the end of our session now. We have a few minutes left.
Well, I have to say, this hasn't gone the way I expected. I came here to talk about my son, and I've ended up talking about myself.
We started off with the awful situation of your son that opened up into your feelings of being a failure that go right back to your childhood. Your perception of what a counsellor should be. and how you wanted to be the strong together person you believed a counsellor should be. It must have been very hard for you to come here and look beneath the surface at the old fears and vulnerabilities.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a relief to know that you need help sometimes too.
Well, in these sessions we are counsellor and client, but we're also two human beings. How are you feeling, Adam, right now?
Calmer, I think. Yes, definitely. I think the word is accepted. Thank you for not making me feel any more of a failure.
So, would you like to come back next week?
Yes, please, I'd appreciate that.
And would it be okay for us to stop here for today?
Yeah, it's fine.